Hey, it's Matthew and Ramona. And I just want to touch base with you today and make it short and sweet. So, been just focusing on getting ready for the workshop and following the fastest path to my joy. One of the most exciting things in my life, you can see the hockey stick, is my daughter Fiona. She's 4 years old and she's skating and loving it, playing with the stick already, learning how to stick handle, all the good things that you learn when you play hockey. And she had they had to tell the teachers what they're excited about in life, and one of the things the teacher said is that she said she was excited about hockey. So I was really grateful to hear that. And so spending a lot of time just enjoying life and really just tuning into the I am. The I am is the heart of God, all right? And it's the real life, the real spiritual, divine nature that is your life. And, focusing on the teachings that have been put out. I just looked the other day, and I had on my library channel, LBRY, I had 555 videos. And I was like, wow, this ministry is only like 2 years old, 2 years and a couple months, and 555 videos. And I thought, I really have to go back to the drawing board myself. All the techniques are laid out. One of the things I want you to do is go to truth.tv and check out this offering I put together. So if you've never been to my workshop and you've never learned self-entrainment technique, I've made it super convenient for you to do at home right now. If you want to do it, you can just jump on, learn it at home, and I put some other bonuses in there as well. I think it's a stellar opportunity. It's up to you whether you want to embrace it or not. truth.tv. In fact, I was practicing, and I will be up until the workshop, going through everything I'm going to teach, and it's a complete, ritual approach, using self-entrainment technique, primarily as the dominant tool, ABC break process backing it up, and safe touch, the main spiritual millionaire workshop teachings. And we're gonna have to scale that up a bit, because millionaire is really like nothing these days. So we're gonna have to start doing spiritual billionaire workshops just to keep up with inflation and all the things that's going on. So I am working the system and doing it, and scaling up my vibration, following the fastest path to my joy, and getting new ideas, and new things are coming to mind. And that's the whole point, is that you want to keep your life fresh and innovative. So I just want to tell you, browse some of the teachings that we put out, and there's something there for every situation. All 555 videos, with the exception of maybe a dozen or so, are really content-rich, training style videos. There are not many videos where I just shoot the breeze and really just ho-hum about nothing. It's usually something on my heart, sharing it, putting it out there. And often you just need one little ounce of encouragement, a word of wisdom, something just to get you to the next level. And that's what I've been doing lately. Going back to the growth stage in my life. I'm going back to growing. I want to go to the next level myself. So I'm becoming a student again. And, I always have been a student, but I'm becoming more of a, take a step back and really just look at everything and say, okay, God, it's really your business. It's your life. It's your ministry. What do you want me to do? What do you want me to learn? Who do you want me to learn from? Where do you want me to go? And so I'm just letting that happen. But the way I'm doing it is the same way, through the fastest path to my joy in this moment, and letting that just put me into alignment, and then the things start to show up in my life. So I'm going to check out here soon. And right now, actually, want to say bye, Mona? Want to say bye? Yeah, she's a good dog. Yeah, I got a little thing for her so she can sit back here without destroying this car. So anyway, iamtruth.tv, and always MatthewDavidHurtado.com is my main website. All the offerings are there, the books, the audios, you name it, it's all there. So this is a good time to go back to the drawing board for anybody and just reevaluate and say, well, what could I learn that could really help me get to the next level, and embrace it. And I think you'll find a lot of value in doing that. That's what I'm doing. Take care, and I'll see you soon. Greetings. All right, I decided to add on to my little 5-minute clip that I made. I did that last night, and I figured, we'll just go for a walk today, make a video, talk about things. So some of the things that I've learned in my development, my growth, I'll share with you. And I think I've been learning some pretty interesting teachings from others that, are not necessarily in the public eye, and they're not necessarily, doing anything other than living the life of truth. And I think that often I find some of the best teachers in the world are the ones that don't make a big show about it. They're just living the truth. And so I want to share that with you today. And something I learned last night that I'm going to do. And I'm going to do a challenge for you if you're watching this transmission to do this with me. I think it will radically change your life. It's built on a principle that will never fail. But most people will struggle from time to time with the fear aspect coming into it, and the fear will attempt to derail you off this mission. So the first thing I would say is, step number 1 is, let's sit down and let's write a mission statement for our lives, okay? Like, what is our personal mission statement? So recently, I was challenged to do this from somebody that I'm taking some counsel from. And I thought, well, I already do this. And it came to my attention that I'm doing this for my business and for even my workshops, but I'm not doing it for me personally. So there has to be a personal mission statement. So take some time and really define who you are and what is your top priority value system. And then everything else will have to be governed by that overarching mission. And I think that's critical, because in the age of distraction, we are in the age of distraction. In the age of distraction, if you don't have that crystal clear idea of who you are, what's important to you, and what you're willing to sacrifice all else for, then you're going to kind of get stirred around everywhere, and you'll miss the mark, because you won't be true to your purpose in your life. So I started hashing that out last week, and I had about 3 paragraphs worth. And then I thought, well, it's not ready until I can condense it into one simple thing. And I think I did that with a company that I've been working on. And I really think it ties into who I am. And this is a trademark thing, so please don't use it, because I've already trademarked it. But the company, the slogan was to build a better human experience. And so really, my mission has to do a lot with, obviously, my children, my faith in God, and tying all of that together to build a better human experience. Using wisdom to develop these daily habits, these rituals, these techniques, things that disrupt the status quo. So I see myself as a disruptor of sorts, because I don't accept, the canned garbage that comes down the pike that they try to vomit on you in society to teach you how to fail at every level. And the reason why I say that is the illusion of prosperity is nothing but an illusion. When 3 out of 5, probably closer to 4 out of 5, Americans have a chronic diagnosable disease, they're sicker than ever. Most of them are either obese or nutritionally starved to the point of near death. They don't even realize it. And the food supply is allegedly abundant, right? Well, it's not. It's not food, that's the thing. And then we have to look at the media approach to that, which is all the information we're taking in is also not food that's consumable. It's very, very dangerous to your overall psychological well-being. When you're taking in any of the propaganda from either side of the coin, you have the negative, doomsday, like everything's gonna end tomorrow. Everybody's gonna be dead tomorrow because of the thing that's going around, And then you have the other side of it that only reinforces the very problem itself. What you've done is you've done the same thing that science has done. All modern day science leaves the creator out of the creation. And so if you're going to leave the creator out of the creation, you're making a grave mistake. That's the one thing you should put your entire focus on. Your entire life should be evolved around developing that relationship with your creator. Okay, Father, Mother, God, Source, intelligence, love, divine being, whatever you want to label the source of all creation that is love made manifest. You have to put your awareness onto that. Okay? So I know I went off on a little rant, but what I'm trying to tell you is that the stuff that is pre-planned for you, that is pre-packaged in the external, in the hologram, is really designed as a tripwire. Everywhere you go, there's all these tripwires. There are all these tripwires, and they're designed to ensnare you in the carnal mind. So I'm going to get into the teaching today. I think you're going to find some value in it. First step is I really want you to write down a mission statement. And this is actually going to be a shared piece. I'm making this as the final segment to our 30-day Prosperity Clinic class. And I'm also going to release it publicly, so you get the culmination of how I'm going to exit the class and how I'm going to step into the next level myself. Now, every time I do these teachings, I do it because I want to grow myself. And the best way to grow is immersion training. Just throw yourself in the mix and be vulnerable. Be absolutely vulnerable. Vulnerability is strength. So, I was asked the other night, where did I learn some of my characteristics and how I approach the world? And I said a lot of it was learned when I went through Lyme disease and I discovered what true power is. I had lost all of my faculties in the natural to rely upon. I didn't have my strength, I didn't have my intelligence, this wasn't working right. I didn't have my friends, my network, I didn't have anything. But I had my faith in God, and so what I did was I made the allocation of all of my resources that I had, which was my focus, my attention, and as I put that attention on the source, and I kept it there firmly, just with that hope and that expectation that every little nugget that was coming to me was the answer. This is the answer. This is what it's going to take. And all of a sudden, I walked right out of that. Okay? I learned that that was power. That power comes from the supernatural, which means above the natural. It comes from your spirit. And every problem, okay, this is what one of my mentors told me this past week. So I have like 6 spiritual mentors, by the way. So I think you should have a mastermind team. You should have a team of counsel in any profession that you're going to be in. So I consider myself to be in the spiritual profession. And I surround myself with individuals that I believe are much better than me in certain capacities. So what I tend to do with that knowledge is draw upon all of it and aggregate it into my teaching that I give to you. That's how this game works. Is I draw from my network, I composite it into my message, and then I give it to you. So you're getting the culmination of all of it. And so what my mentor said was, well, Matthew, doesn't it seem that every single trouble, now I'm talking to you now, that comes against you is one thing. And that one thing is belief in life in the material consciousness. Belief in life from a material consciousness, as in the law of flesh that is binding you to the troubles of this 3D dimension, this, time-space illusion. You're being bound by ignorance at every turn. You have an ache in the body, right? Well, what is that? It's the presupposition that something is wrong with you. It's the implication that your creator is a retard. Okay? That's really the message you send to God, is that God is a fool. Because how could God create me to be so destructible that I have to walk on eggshells in this realm lest I lose my life? You see? Do you see the implication that's being made there? It's an abject deviation from the principle of truth into the wilderness, into the realm of ignorance, and it is the opposite of putting your trust in God. It's putting your trust in the opinions. Opinion means no fact. The no facts of this world. And that is the belief in the material consciousness. Okay, that's from a physical perspective. Now, let's look at the money perspective. You have a shortage or a lack or some sort of disruption that seems to be happening in the supply chain, whether it's your personal supply chain or the one around you. And the collective is out picturing that now with their collective fear of supply chain disruptions and shortages. And these are unknown to God. See, God is direct to man, direct to manifest. Consciousness comes direct to the reflection of its own awareness. God created someone to love, and that someone is you. And that all-powerful deity has no obstruction in giving you the love that fulfills all human needs. And so what we do is we project outward our fears into the external, and we start to look at the deficiency, and then we start to bring it into our thought, okay? So it recirculates. It's man looking at the mirror of man's own ignorance, which is the Old Testament, okay? And that's why the Bible has a left side and a right side, and right in the middle you have Malachi, which is the bridge to the supernatural. The structure is the message. You have to understand there are multiple levels of reality all happening in one focal point of now space. And so when I speak to you at multiple levels of these realities, you may not fully comprehend, like, what is this guy saying? The Bible is the left and the right side, and then you have the Old Testament, the left brain, the right brain is the New Testament, it's the supernatural, it's the Passover into the consciousness of the Christ, through Malachi, through the Melchizedek, all this stuff, right? I say these things, and you're like, this guy's just too esoteric for me. I just want to go back to my old school religious upbringing. And I'm going to tell you that religion is nothing but a play in the natural that simulates through the counterfeit version of material consciousness the supernatural precepts and principles. So the supernatural is the authentic authority, and the natural is a replicating counterfeit illusion of time-space. And now space is the antipode of that. Now space is the true, genuine life that you live. But you live, move, and have your being in spirit. And spirit has no problem. It has no deficiency. It has no problem reaching you with divine love. And spirit is about its own business. You have nothing to do with it. That's what I'm telling you. And since you have nothing to do with it, the sooner you let go and have nothing to do with it, the faster the all-sufficiency is made known to your lying, human, deceptive five senses. Because once you stop reasoning for your own limitations through the Old Testament left brain projecting my own ignorance into the world consciousness, and you start to become the Christ that multiplied the loaves and fishes, it's to realize that look, Jesus did not take a physical piece of bread and break it into 5,000, 12,000 pieces, whatever you want to call that. That's not what happened. The human five-sense dream will tell you that's what happened. That is not what happened. What happened was Jesus knew that the Father is all. Recognition of this and the contemplation that no deficiency exists within the Father's mind, within the Father's love to reach the Father's children, brought about the all-sufficient supply. It's the recognition of the principle and the total rejection of anything that comes against it in thought that transfers the energy from the left to the right and brings through the heart the qualifying energy in the outer through the I am presence that changes the construct. See, the I am is the heart of God. It is the presence that is the allness of your being. And once you align in agreement through a trust, contract of a trust, then what is known by God is made known to you. And see, what was known to God is that God's children have no shortage of supply, because supply is a divine thing that is forever making itself manifest. Hello. And so that supply being manifest is an eternal constant in creation. It is the love of the Father, Mother, God to its own reflection that knows no barrier, has no break in the continuity of it, and nothing can obstruct it or step upon it or infringe upon it. There's no dislocation at any point of existence. And so Jesus, the all-knowing representative being through the agency of the Christ consciousness, simply knew what was true according to God, and with no doubt and no fear began to demonstrate that it had to be true no matter what, and acted accordingly. And then the revelation was made known through the five senses to everyone who was present. And the only one that was present was the one. Now that's a riddle. It's a conundrum, okay? And so if you contemplate that conundrum for just, maybe an hour or so of how could that be? What could what he said actually be true? How can that be humanly possible? Well, here's how it could humanly possible. When I had Lyme disease, allegedly, right? Because the five senses are lying at every report. And I was lying sick on this couch where I was mostly bedridden. And fast forward a couple years later, and now there is a massively thriving, successful business coming in. I'm starting to train like a pro athlete again. My body is 50 pounds heavier than it was. I went from the pit to the palace. And that same couch was sitting right there. Or was it the same couch? Or was it the same couch? I tell you, it was not the same couch. Just as much as you, even a moment ago, are not the same as you are now. You are constantly upgrading. You are constantly coming into being based on what you put your attention and focus on. And so as you shift your attention and focus away from the concepts of ignorance and mortality and illusion of lack, poverty, strife, deficiency, sickness, suffering, all of these are unknown to God, and they are blasphemy, okay? Spiritual crimes at the highest level. It's to call God an idiot, to put your faith in those things of this world. They only exist in the natural. They are confined to the natural. They are under the curse of the natural. And if you identify with them, well, you come under the curse of the natural as well. But it's your choice. And see, what you were given by God, the only thing you contain, okay, that is actually yours, is free will. The only thing divine about you is the imagination and the spoken word. And everything else is an illusion. Flat out, plain and simple, everything else is the dream of the human five senses. That's all it is. That's all it is. And so the dream of the human five senses in the multiplying of the loaves and the fishes, okay? Now, get this. The dream was nothing but a shadow of ignorance cast over the collective, okay? The collective shadow of ignorance, governed by the material law of the flesh, at every turn argues for its own deficiency. But it is a liar from the beginning. So the Christ enters the equation. And the Christ, knowing no deficiency, having no trouble, having no resistance within its own harmony between members, receiving all divine love at all points of existence, made itself known because
of the one who corrected the outer with the inner. Now that might hit you in the morning, because that's how powerful you are. You are as powerful as the Christ, because the Christ is reaching you when you turn to the Christ. Okay, the living Christ comes through the living imagination of spiritual awareness of the I am presence in the contemplation of the principal thought that is within the mind of the Creator. The representative being is what becomes manifest as you become one with the thought. So you become an equal to the Christ, because now you are having equal thoughts. Now you are equal in your experience, because you are only knowing what God knows to be true and rejecting and resisting all other nefarious arguments, because they have no basis, they don't represent any authority, and they don't have creative capacity without your free will to create blasphemy, to give them a place of rest in your thought. So you say no to the devil and resist, and the devil will flee. And now I'm sorry about the wind. The wind is going to get a little intense, but I'll mute this background noise out, hopefully. So I'm learning a lot of these things from people that have demonstrated the fruits. And what I do is I find people that walk in this wisdom. They don't necessarily sell books and courses and, show up in the world as, hey, look at me, look how important I am, buy my stuff, right? I mean, maybe you see me that way, but that's not my modus operandi. My modus operandi is legacy-based, so that, someday when my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren and people that when say, who was this guy, they can pick up a copy of Trust, the most powerful force in the universe, and they can say, this guy, he really dedicated himself to the principle, and the reason why I did it was for them, okay? I did it for them. That's why I do what I do. I don't do it for the sake of gratifying my ego and making myself stupider. Okay, the ego is retarded. Okay, the ego is self-sabotage made manifest. It rejects love at every turn. It's afraid to love. Okay, it believes the lies. Okay, now we'll get into relationships. Why is the ego a moron? Because the ego argues that there is disharmony within creation itself because of what it believes to have experienced in its temporal position of transitory phenomenon. Okay? Now, what I mean by that is the Vedic scriptures say that infinite worlds appear and reappear in the vast expanse of my consciousness like motes of dust, dancing in a beam of light. Motes of dust, flickering in and out of existence. Okay, now what that is it's a collective soup, the law of flesh through the carnal mind in the quantum matrix that is shifting like it's the serpent, mesmerizing, just trying to find a home somewhere that somebody will give it with their free will. And it's a cloud. It's like walking through a foggy day. The world is a fog. It's a dense fog, it says in the Gospel of Truth. You walk through a dense fog of the human five senses. And so the carnal mind, which represents the ego is governed by the carnal mind. And although its job is to keep you out of the gutter in the natural realm, to keep you of some status, of some level of security, it has some sort of a purpose. Ultimately, it's governed by ignorance, though. And so being governed by ignorance, it's corrupt and it's corruptible, and it falters. So it doesn't operate efficiently. And so what we have to do is we have to learn that the one is God's representative beingness, which is one consciousness, one harmony, immutable, perfect, unbreakable. And when we argue that there was a break in the harmony, that something was done to us, or we made a mistake, or we hold on to guilt, shame, and resentment, and fear, and all these lower than acceptable consciousness states that bring about suffering, then we punish ourselves. And that realm of punishment in the collective is known as Hades. And Hades is the carnal mind's world that is a fabricated matrix of reality that attempts to appear as the real life, but it is nothing but a fleeting dream. And if you watch the movie The Matrix, it's when they enter into the simulation and it's all just a matrix. That's the carnal mind. Now, when they take the phone booth and they exit out, that's to go back to the spiritual domain, back into the realm of wisdom. Okay? So you can get these metaphors to remind you that the higher dimensions of consciousness are what they call the heavens. They are here now. Heaven is at hand, and hell is just a thought away. One carnal thought can cast you into the pit of hell by putting your trust in it. One diagnosis from so-called authorities in these white coats and these educated, positions of whatever you want to call it. I call it false science, because they're studying the creation without the creator involved in it. So it has to be false, because it doesn't have an ounce of truth in it. Because if you leave the creator out, you've just disregarded all of the power required to bring about any transformation. And so therein you can see first principle logic that it was never designed to transform or to heal. It was designed to sell more sickness, because that's the only capacity that it is endowed with. And that is the carnal mind made manifest. And so the carnal mind, although it seems to be important, it seems to be valuable, and people are impressed by it, it lies constantly. It's full of, it's crap. And you can build the crap as high as you want to the highest places of authority on this planet, and ultimately you'll realize there's nothing there. So you gain all of your treasures in that realm, and they'll mean nothing at the end of the day, because you've put the ladder on top of a building to race to the top, only to get to the top and realize you're on top of the wrong building. And that's what happens in all of these institutions of power on this planet, because they are built by ego carnal minds that have turned away from God to the lusts of the flesh, and money is their God, and science without the creator in it is their God. So ultimately, they have nothing but graven images and false gods. It is nothing but stepping on the first two commandments at the highest level. And so anybody who gives themselves to those institutions and says, "Oh yes, let me kiss your boots. Oh, so much authority. Oh, it's a big doctor." All they're doing is just pledging their allegiance to Lucifer. That's all they're doing. They're becoming one with the carnal mind, and therefore the consequence is already dialed in. So they're scheduling their own destruction. And you see, that's the irony of it. Let's look at this thing called a Ponzi scheme, right? You can't taper a Ponzi scheme. You can only kill off the early investors, maybe? Or get them to willfully want to do it themselves. Well, how do you do that? Well, you got to change their focus from God to counterfeit God. And if you can do that, then it's no problem, because once they've given their heart to it, they've already scheduled their destruction. Now it's just a formality. They've already said, "Yes, me, right here, take this guy out, just swipe him right off the board, just kick me out the window, fire me off the roof, do whatever you want, because I kiss your boots, I love you so much." See? That's the state of the carnal mind. And that's why you look around and you say, is everybody completely stupid? Well, unfortunately, it's what they've given their heart to. They forgot the blessings of God. And so because of God's grace, God will allow them to enter the consequence of their own ways, to experience the suffering that it brings. Because that suffering is the only thing that's going to cause them to challenge what they're giving themselves to. They're committing adultery. Adultery. See, what is a divine marriage? A divine marriage is the synchronicity in the left and right hemisphere through the consciousness of divine love. It is the Christ. Okay, be married, be the bride of Christ. Why do you think they call it the bride of Christ? You have to understand these words are pointing to something else. You're not married to another human mortal. You're not immortal. You see, that works in the natural to preserve order, okay, in the realm of the chaos. Okay? But if you want to have divine order, you have to step over all of those ideas and recognize that you are endowed to serve and to be married to only one. Not another man or woman or whatever you want to identify with. To be one mind. To be of one mind. To be the bride of Christ. You see? Married to the Christ. Joined to the Christ. And you don't commit adultery by turning to becoming an adult. When you became an adult, you became adulterated and you committed adultery. Can you not see what's in front of you? In front of your lying eyes, you can't even see the obvious elephant in the room. You committed adultery when you became an adult. And you say, well, no, it has to do with cheating on your spouse. You were already committing adultery long before the cheating of the spouse became, because the cheating of the spouse is no different than all of the other lusts of the flesh. Every one of those lusts of the flesh come under the same law of the flesh, and all of your problems come from the law of the flesh, and all of those propensities come from the fact that you became an adult. And you became an adult when you forfeited your childlike innocence and your complete trust in this moment to the divine principle of love to always be the sun. It's the perfect light that knows no darkness. It's this perfect day. And the light that lives in me is the light that cannot fail. You see, that was given to you. And because you turned away, the cheaters, the password in the matrix, by the way, and I'm going to give this to you. If you want to disrupt your matrix, look at every business relationship you got going on right now, and I want you to use this password. Just say cheaters. Cheaters. Just say the word cheaters. Now, watch what happens. Watch how everybody who's trying to cheat you will become known to you. And you will see the world for what it really is. It's a dead carcass, and it's governed by ignorance at every turn. And so, all of the willfulness through the carnal mind that's trying to cheat you, now that you've just said the password, must pop out, and it must reveal itself to you. Now, don't hate the player, hate the game. So when you see the player, okay, who's trying to cheat you, I want you to have love in your heart, knowing that that person is not who you think they are. That person is one carnal mind, okay, attempting to be the serpent in the garden to turn you away from divine love. And that's what destroyed the ego, and that's what the ego is afraid of. Because the ego is that thing. It's afraid of its own shadow. The ego is terrorized by its own shadow. And the ego, ironically enough, is a shadow. Now, that is a riddle within a riddle, isn't it? So how can the shadow be afraid of its own shadow and yet be nothing all at the same time? And who is the someone that comes into agreement with nothing if the someone had no mind of their own to make that decision? Because there's only one consciousness. I ask you to think about these things because it'll change your life. Now, let me get to the point. Someone told me this, and I think it's amazing, 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 amazing. And I'm going to do it. Now, in the Catholic religion, they talk about observing Lent, the 40 days. And I believe it's in March through April. And what we do is, when Jesus went off into the desert, okay, we want to sacrifice something. Okay, we observe Lent by sacrificing something. It's a good practice, but you don't have to wait for Lent. if you wait till March, it's probably going to be one heck of a long wait. So let's not wait for Lent, and let's just say today is the day. Today is the day I set a mission statement. Begin writing your mission statement. Who am I? Well, I think after this transmission, you should know who you are. Okay, so if you know who you are, what am I governed by? I'll give you a hint. Divine love. So if you're governed by divine love, and you can only know what divine love knows, starting from that first principle position, what is your life about? And just go ahead and write that out. What is my life about? Knowing that I am governed by God, source, divine love, intelligence, all-knowing, one mind. And I can only know what the one mind knows, all sufficiency in all things and harmony amongst all of its members. And goodness is the overarching principle that begins to show up as the fruit in that creation. Okay? Then my life is about, boom, write that out. And you see, it should free flow for you because now you've just given yourself a shortcut. Okay, so since I gave you a shortcut, let me just give you mine, okay? And I'll give it to you in a way that I know how to do this, okay? So knowing what I just stated, my purpose is about being the agency of God in this world so that I can know, see, and feel and be the perfection of that one consciousness. Okay, now my life is also about reflecting what the one mind, the one consciousness, and the one being knows to be true to the best of my capacity. Okay, one more time. Now my life is also about living in agreement through my actions, attitudes, and contemplation via the reflection of goodness, what God knows to be true. That was the third thing. That's the heart of the matter. Use the triad ideology here where you can just fire off three things without thinking. First one's the obsession, second is fluff, third is the heart of the matter. And just fire it off. You know, my life is about ... Write the first thing out. Write the second thing out. Write the third thing out. Don't think, just write it out. Take a real hard look at that third thing, because that third thing is the heart of the matter. Your mind works in threes. Everything works in threes. It'll give you the pinpoint bullseye. And then as you think of that mission statement, I'll show you how to unlock your mission. And this was a gift that God gave me. Okay, just last night, God gave me this gift. And I want to give it to you. It's a very, very, very powerful gift. So, the person I was discussing this with said that over Lent, she gave up worrying for 40 days. Worrying. Now, she said initially when she went to talk to the priest was a little concerned because they thought, well, that's not really a thing, giving up alcohol, giving up sex, giving up. But see, the reality is that that's the one thing that defeats your enemy. The one thing that defeats your enemy, there's always one move you can make that will take down the whole house of cards. One move. Now, I was praying for this transmission all week. You haven't heard from me since last transmission because I didn't have this knowledge yet. And I didn't have the strategy for you. And I wanted the strategy for you. So I prayed and I said, God, you got to give me the strategy. It can't just be some abstract, vague idea. It has to be demonstratable, actionable, and backed by your authority so that it's guaranteed to work. That's my asking. So the answer I got was begin now and refuse to fear. Do you know that Kenneth Copeland always talks about refusing to fear? And some people, they trip on the guy and they say, oh, he's just after your money, blah, blah. You can't be that stupid your entire life to think that he's in the position he's in because he's an idiot, okay? If you listen closely to what people are saying who have walked in spiritual authority, they're dropping clues everywhere they go. But you're not seeing it because you're still governed by the carnal mind. So what I'm going to give you is I'm going to give you the one thing that will break your attachment to the carnal mind. Jesus said it, take no thought for your life and do not worry about tomorrow, right? Jesus said it. It was not a suggestion. It was the doorway to kingdom consciousness. Do you want to be in the kingdom consciousness? Then start today. Don't wait till tomorrow. Write your mission statement out. It begins now. And from this day forward, for the next 40 days, you're going to do your 40 days in the desert, okay? Refuse to fear, refuse to worry about anything whatsoever. And I'll give you a good turnaround. Hey. So I asked this person, I said, so how did you find to make it work? How did you make it work for yourself? And she says, well, what I did is I refused to worry, and instead I turned my attention to what I was grateful for. Now that is the most scriptural thing you're ever going to hear. That's mastering your Bible 101. Now this person is also a scholar in Bible studies, so this is not just somebody who, dreamt this up. It was years and years of reflection to come to that agreement. Hello. And so what she discovered was that this is the way to walk in the kingdom. And it is the way. So if you will do one thing, if you will write down a mission statement, you can use what I gave you to come up with your heart of the matter mission statement. I suggest you put it on your wall. I suggest you put gloss over it. You make a card, carry it with you. I suggest you really be about the Father's business by doing your mission. And then you will unlock it, okay, by refusing to fear and worry for 40 days. And now, I will tell you how you can use a turnaround statement. The best turnaround statement that you can ever use as your mantra is, I am absolutely not concerned, because I know wonderful things are happening, because God is all. Use it. It's so powerful. In fact, there's a talk on YouTube by a Christian scientist called Wonderful Things Are Happening. It's the exact application of this, but what I'm telling you to do is govern yourself through a mission so that the centralizing focus of your life keeps you in check. That everything that you do has to fall into agreement with that one focus, okay? Now, the second thing is make a decision that you're going to step into the kingdom and never look back. You're going to go all in on God. You're not going to be half married to God. You're not going to be committing adultery anymore. Wicked mortals committing adultery is the status quo of this world. And you are not one of them. You're not engineered to be one of them, and you can't possibly be one of them. Only in a dream could you ever contemplate anything of the likeness of those wicked ones. So, for the next 40 days, no matter what happens, no matter what, I don't care what the government comes out with. I don't care what happens in the markets. I don't care what happens through the business or what happens to these physical pains going on in my fake physical body. All of this garbage that is under one belief, the belief in material consciousness. The one thing that's destroying your life energy because you've given yourself to it and it has put you under the law of the sin and death. The one thing that has bound you through Egyptian sorcery, captive to the realms of Hades. The one thing is belief in material consciousness. And the one thing that destroys it is this practice. This is your doorway out forever. This is your call. Now, if you don't take the call and you don't walk out, then woe unto you, because you have been given through the Holy Spirit this transmission. This transmission was the result of my prayer, receiving it from not even myself, but still of the one consciousness. And it came to me all throughout the last 10 days. All the pieces of the puzzle came to me. And I put them together for you. That's my gift to the world. That's my legacy. What I do is I take these teachings and I put them into packages for you to apply. Because it's not what you know, it's what you do based on what you know. For 40 days, I refuse to fear. Oh, look at that, something showed up. I am absolutely not concerned because I know wonderful things are happening because God is all in all. And then here's your power move. Your power move is What am I grateful for now? Now I'm going to give you a little cheat sheet. Literally, I want you to make a cheat sheet. I did this yesterday in my office. I sat down and I wrote, I am grateful for ... And I listed about 100 things that I'm grateful for. Everything from these walks, the beauty around here, to the weather, to the ability to be able to walk again, to, having energy, to feeling good today, to knowing that God loves me. All of these things are the real treasures in heaven. And as you rejoice in them, rejoice means to rejoin. It means to rejoin them. You join in the celebration of life, and true life is nothing to do with material flesh. Now, the fear that's going to come against you is, well, if I turn away from these problems, there's no way my life's going to get any better because God do something about it. Okay, don't listen to the carnal mind whatsoever. Please, the way that the carnal mind works is it does one thing. It creates a problem out of nothing, because it is nothing. So, see, out of the nothing that it is, it creates its own problem, which ultimately is nothing. Yeah, the conundrum, right? And then you consult with it to try to find out the answer to the problem that it created, and it knows not the answer because it's ignorant. And so the only recourse it has to do is beat you up for not knowing the answer. And isn't that what the government does? You see, the government is nothing but an out projection of human egos. Create nothing, have no answers, and beat you up for not knowing the answers. That is what you call your collective reflection of governance on the outside external. So the way out of the matrix is to become governed by the self, the I am presence, under the law of spirit, and let that law be the only operating principle in your life. And this is the way. This is the way. This is my most important transmission you've ever heard. This is my most important transmission you've ever heard. Sadly, 85% of people watching this, I know it in my heart, are going to doubt this upon first hearing. And what I want to say to you right now is that you were not given an ounce of doubt from your Father. You were given a sound mind. You were given boldness and courage and strength and truth. And you are governed by truth. So, in the name of Yahushua, I command you to become governed by the truth that you are. And you see, this is where I start to multiply the loaves and fishes through the consciousness of truth, and all of the multitudes will be fed the knowledge from the Father, because they will turn to the Father and be fed from within. So, let me recap before you go. There are 4 things I asked you to do. Number 1, get your mission statement right. Watch this video. Stop and pause it where I'm giving you what to say to yourself to draw out this mission statement. Write it down. Get it on paper. Now make a special place where you put it. You're going to be governed by this principle. Okay? You're going to come into obedience. And then you're going to unlock miracles with faith. That's the next step. Logic doesn't do anything for miracles, only faith does. So, we come into our faith by the application of, for the next 40 days, starting today, starting right now. Not tomorrow. Don't put off the things that need to be done now. Take them now. This is your calling. Holy Spirit is talking to you right now. This is for you watching me right now. This is your way out of suffering. This is your answer from a divine prayer. Okay? For the next 40 days, I will fear and worry over nothing. Fear and worry can produce nothing positive for you, ever. They can only bind you to the law of the flesh. And that's how you've been bound to the law of the flesh. So the one thing that will unbind you, is I am absolutely not concerned, because I know wonderful things are happening because God is all in all. Now, we look at our cheat sheet and we redirect our focus. Hey, instead of giving my attention to this worry, let me have a new habit of focusing on what I'm grateful for. I am so grateful for this beautiful day. Look at this. How could it get any better than this? Literally, how could it get any better than this? You know that I'm walking today? It's 7 o'clock in the morning, 7:30 maybe. And I feel good. I have energy. I'm tuning into spirit. I'm so grateful. And you start to fill your consciousness with that gratitude. Now, for 40 days, as you do this, you're going to build a new construct, okay? And that construct is going to be your reflection through the new attitude, through the Beatitudes, and you're going to be in agreement with what God is knowing. And therefore, because of your faith, it will be done unto you. Because of your faith, it will be done unto you. Please, please, please watch this transmission again and actually stop and do it. It's for you, okay? It's for you, and I'll be right there joining you along with it. So this is your opportunity. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. If you forget this video and you move on, that's your decision. But if you do something about it, it'll be a completely different conversation in a short time. So with that said, that is pretty much all I want to talk about for this day. My heart is overflowing with abundance right now. Literally, I had nothing to share other than the last thing I talked about, the bullying, and my daughter has been transformed. It's been amazing because truth does all the heavy lifting, okay? Her life is changing rapidly because truth stepped into the picture. Now, I said, God, you got to take me to the next level. Like literally, I'm bored of my own stuff. Like, I use it. It's so automatic. My results are phenomenal. But look, God, you got to take me to the next level. There's no stop to this growth. It's always an upward trajectory. There's always more in store when God's in it. And so the pieces come to me, and I know God's voice. I'm sensitive to God's voice. And they all started coming to me this week through multiple experiences through all of my mentors. And it wasn't just one mentor, it was the collection of every one of them dropping seeds that I picked up. And I said, you know what? That's going to be a good harvest. That's going to be a good harvest. And then God showed it to me this morning. God said, this is the answer to your prayer. And there it is. Multiple confirmations. Now, it's not for me. It's for you. It's for me. And it's for the entire world. Because as you change, so does your external body, which is your external world. And you'll bring about more of God and less of the troubles. Take care. See you next time.